One of the joys I get to have as a pastor here is to get to know a lot of couples who are about to get married. We have a lot of weddings here at St. Mary's, and I like spending time with those couples because I'm getting to know them at the exact time in their life when they are buying the field. Just like it says in the gospel today. They are selling all of their other jewels. They're closing off all the other paths they could walk down, and they are buying the field with the treasure in it. The highlight of the wedding is the exchange of the vows, and it usually happens right here on this carpet. And I will stand with the assembly, and they will face us, and they will vow before God and everyone to each other, I will love you for better or worse. If we have money or if we lose all of our money, if you get MS or dementia, I'm sticking with you no matter what. I ask them, do you promise? And they say, I do. I have a friend who's a marriage therapist who talks about the experience of helping couples through their challenges. And he said that while it's true that there are some marriages that just can never be healthy, and I think there's some people here right now that have had that experience where a marriage sometimes just is not able to be healthy and to succeed. But a lot of the couples that come to this therapist say, we have a good marriage, but we want to have a great marriage. We want you to help us have a great marriage. And he said those are the couples that are always the most fun to work with. They'll say, we want to have not just a good marriage, but like a 1 in a million kind of marriage. And he tells them, if you want a 1 in a million kind of marriage, you're going to have to be willing to do what only 1 in a million couples would do. You're going to have to live differently than most people live marriage. That's the same attitude that we take about having a Catholic school here in our parish. We've had a Catholic school here for 140 years. And I'm not a Catholic school kid. I went to public school and I had a great experience. And a lot of our wonderful public schools here are doing great things with our kids. So the question is, why would you pay tuition to send your kid to a Catholic school if you can get a good education at another school? But what a lot of our parents say to us in these words or other words is, they'll say, we have a good relationship with God, but we want our kids to have a great relationship with God. And that is what a Catholic school can do for your kids. And if we want our kids to have a great relationship with God, a 1 in a million relationship with God, then we're going to have to do things that are different than our neighbors will do. We may have to spend more time and more money making that our top priority. The gospel today says, when you find what matters most, you have to be willing to trade everything else for that one precious thing. And for a lot of us, the problem is not naming what matters. It's about how to deal with it when something else that we want gets in the way of what matters to us. What happens when something gets in the way of wanting our kids to have a great relationship with God, or gets in the way of us wanting to have a 1 in a million kind of marriage? A lot of people still talk about the sitcom Seinfeld. It's 30 years old now, but so many of the scenes are iconic. There's one scene that I really love where Jerry and Elaine go to get a rental car, and they go up to the rental car counter and they said, I have a reservation for a mid-sized sedan. And the agent says, I'm so sorry, sir, but we're all out of those cars. And he said, but I have a reservation for one of those cars. And she said, I'm sorry, we're out of those cars. I can put you in an economy or a compact or something different than that. And he said, but you took my reservation. And she said, I'm sorry, sir. And he said, the thing about a reservation is you can't just take it, you gotta hold it. He said, anyone can take a reservation, you gotta hold the reservation. And that's what this gospel's talking about. Anyone can set a priority. I'd like that. That's something I'd like for my life. But how do you hold that? The author Amor Towles said he always wanted to be a writer. He remembers being in first grade and learning that writing the books that they were reading together in class was something that you could do for a job. As soon as he realized that you could write a book for a job, he said, that's what I want to do, from first grade. And he pursued it steadily. And he was a smart cookie. So he went to Yale and got a degree in English at Yale and then got a master's at Stanford. But when he started writing, it was really hard. And it was not paying the bills well. And he was so smart and well-connected that he wound up getting an opportunity put in his lap to go work at an investment firm in New York City. And so he went, and he made a lot of money. But he always said, I'm going to go back to being a writer. When I'm done with this, I'm going to go back to being a writer. And one day he was having lunch with one of his mentors, and he told him, I'm going to go back to being a writer. And the mentor said, you know, in my experience, when someone makes it to Wall Street and leaves another calling for that, I don't know what it is, he said. Maybe it's the money or the adrenaline or the connections, but he said they almost never go back. And Amor Towles said that put just a fear in his soul. By the end of that week, he quit his job and he went back to writing. His books now have sold 6 million copies. They've been translated into 30 languages. His last book, The Lincoln Highway, debuted in the #1 spot its first week on the New York Times bestseller list. Anyone can set a priority, but how do we hold on to it when it gets hard or when something else gets in the way? It feels like that's the work that we're being asked to look at this week, to figure out what is our top priority. Can I name that right now, what matters most to me? And then can I give evidence that I'm holding on to it? The two places we can look for evidence, the two immediate places to look, are in our calendar and at our checkbook register or our online banking profile. Because if something's our priority, it's going to be taking some of our time and it's going to be taking some of our money. And if it's not, we may not be holding the priority like we think we are. You've heard us say that at St. Mary's we've made it a priority to be a parish that is good for families. We want families to have no barrier to coming here to Mass. We want them to be able to bring their kids, to be able to raise their family with faith. And so we approached the Finance Council last year and said, we really want to make this a time that we really invest in our families. And so we're going to be asking to put more of the money in the budget into that and dedicating more hours of our staff. And that's exactly what's happened. Now we have faith finders at every Sunday Mass. We've got people volunteering in huge numbers for our Sunday night group. And like faith finders, we never take a week off. We want to let our families know we're always going to have that for you. So we don't cancel it in the summer, even though this isn't the time for faith formation. We have it on Christmas Eve. We have it on Easter Sunday. We have it all summer long. And our Sunday night program for the high schoolers, the volunteers get there an hour and a half early to set up cornhole, get the pizza, get everything in order. And it's a pain in the neck sometimes. And we have more staff and more staff hours going to that than ever before, and it costs money. We buy them pizza every week. But we've never had involvement like this. We've never seen this many kids be a part of our programs. It takes energy and time and money to make something a priority. What is it in your life that needs more of one of those things? It used to be that when it came to weddings, June was the busy time, but not here. Maybe it's because of the beauty of the Adirondacks, but the big, heavy time for us for weddings is the fall. We're going to have a lot of weddings in this church this fall. And I look forward to hearing those couples exchange vows and say, I do. And I hope that they want a 1 in a million kind of marriage. Because the point of marriage is not just to have, but to hold.